I don't have to come in the frame.
But please, that's so cool.
Oh my god.
Anyway, okay, go on. Yes.
Okay.
You have a question.
Yes.
We have answers.
So, you guys have known each other for about 30 years.
Long about. Yeah.
Yes. Can you guys tell me how you guys met? How the two of you?
I don't remember.
All right. Cool.
That's going to be the answer to a lot of.
I know.
No, I remember how.
I remember how I met your mother.
I never watched that shit.
Somehow,
Because it was about like a guy that's being all happy about like his wife being dead.
That's right. Somehow Neil Patrick Harris is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like how we met.
Exactly. I think we met. It was. Well, I think as a baby you were in some kind of swaddling cloth and led down a river. I think, and then that's Moses. That's
well,
Moses.
you're thinking Prince of Egypt, actually.
There you go.
I'm sure you weren't thinking the Charlton Heston.
No, I was not. No, I remember. I remember how I met your mother. No, I remember how I met you. All right. Not to get on. Well, we had the tape. Literally, it's not tape, but still. So I remember. I remember.
Not clips.
I had a fine arts degree that I was going for, community college, and I remember as part of the criteria, I was supposed to have a ceramics class. So me and this other fella that I was hanging with at the time, he goes, "Well, I've got a theater class. It's in the same building, right, just a couple of rooms over. Tell you what, I'll hang with you in your ceramics class if you hang with me in the theater class." And I said, "Okay, all right, that's cool." So we go in the ceramics class, and no disrespect, but it was me and about 8 other very old biddies who were very, very interested in doing fake flowers or wicker basket kind of things, and they said, "This is ceramics," and they were like, "Yeah, but when do we get to paint flowers?" "This is ceramics." And it was just like the whole time. And this is the first class, so it's like syllabus and stuff like that, and And so we walked out of there, and he said, "Man, that was mind numbing." And I went, "Yeah, that drained me. I don't, yeah." And he goes, "Well, let's go to my class." So we go into the theater class. And for the first time ever, I laid eyes on you and several people that we still to this day know. And I was just a warm body in the class. I was just, and in fact, the instructor, Jack Westin, said, "Yeah, you can hang back if you want to, but just, we're just going to meet one another and maybe do some exercises." And I said, "All right." So I was sitting there, and you guys were all in the class, proper, introduced one another, did a couple of things. All right, pick a partner, and we'll have this scenario, blah, 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 blah. And then he sees me, I guess, corner of his eye, and he's like, "I mean, if you want to, you can." I don't know why I'm making him Lorne Michaels, by the way. I don't know if you want to, but you can go out.
Only because your Jack Westin impression.
Join the. Jack Westin was a lot more Bing Crosby. So, "All right, everybody, pick a partner. Let's take a look and see what happens out here."
He's exaggerating.
Not much.
Not much.
He's like, "All right, fella, why don't you get out there and join everybody else too?" So big ears. And so I did, and I think I had done something with Al, the fellow that brought me into the class like that. I think we did a bit, and from that, I met you. I met Troy. You guys introduced me to him. He was not in the class.
No.
And then I met a couple of other people that are still friends of ours to this day. But that's my recollection of you for the first time. Because we hung back after the class was over with and talked for about 2 hours. To which somebody came in to clean the room, and they were like, "I thought class was over."
And honestly, first impression was I thought he was high.
I mean,
and turned out he was. He was just high on not being in a classroom full of dead old women.
That's exactly what it was.
It was a label. It looked like he was like coming home. Me, I was there, and I appreciated your laughter and all that and what we did, but I was there actually facing my worst fear. I didn't know it at the time. I hate improv.
Really?
I'm good at it. That doesn't mean I like it.
You like, yeah.
And the reason I hate improv was because of the class. This is a tangent, but I do want to actually tell.
Please.
Because of that class, we were exceptionally good at improv. That's something that Jack mentioned throughout that year and the rest of the time we knew him. That we had a very natural chemistry, the whole group.
He said he'd never had a group that tight.
So we did a lot of improv in that class, which, if you're not on stage, consists of one thing: sitting there nervously waiting for your turn.
Yeah.
Well, during that class, that is when I first started developing stomach problems.
Ulcers, we'll say.
Probably something similar to ulcers. Waiting on my turn to for a minute and 30 seconds, being as creative as I possibly could in front of the only people I considered my peers.
Yeah.
To this day, I get sick to my stomach watching people do improv. I can't actually go and do it unless I'm supporting a friend, and even then I gotta chew Tums like Pez to actually sit through the whole thing.
And on the flip side of that coin, to me, it's anything that I see of it is still like coming home. I'm like, oh, yes. I like group mentality on stuff. I don't like
the people. Much a sheep.
I am a sheeple. Someone. People have asked me before about stand up and stuff like that. I've tried like just singular. I'm not comfortable with it. I like a fallback, somebody that I can bounce stuff off of. I enjoy that. In fact, I remember that day of that class, once it was over and we hung back for like 2 hours, I remember going straight to the place and changing my curriculum. I remember, and then I go to the class the next time, and Jack, the teacher, goes, "You realize you can't just keep coming in here. This is a class. I'm like, no, I'm one of your students now." And he's like, "All right, we're good." So,
okay, tangent again, but I want to tell a story that's very similar to that. Because it was also at Commons right after we started hanging out in that Wheatus class.
Yeah.
He had what was a lit class? I don't remember what it was. It was in a lit class taught by one of our eventual favorite teachers, Wheatus Sandy. And I had a free period, so I was just hanging out with him that first day. And I'm sitting there, and as we do, we were just sort of cracking each other up, making little jokes and making some noise. There's a guy sitting behind us, and at one point, he gets somebody else and says, "Hey, can you get that guy's attention?" And so this other guy says, "Hey, he wants to." And I look back, and this guy is like waving, "Hey, man, can you do me a favor?" And I'm like, "Sure, what? Can you shut the fuck up?" "Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry." Left that class immediately and joined that class.
Yeah.
Made a point of sitting as close to him as possible whenever I could. He lasted 4 weeks.
I remember that.
And then he actually quit.
I remember that.
And I wanted to tell that one because it's warm to my heart. This is one of the favorite things I ever did.
And I do remember, added to that, I remember at some point we had acted up so much till Weta, the teacher herself, had to say, "I love you, but shut up." Yeah. And we did, because it was her.
And she meant the lovely part because she hung out with us after the class all the time.
Yeah.
She was genuinely a friend.
God rest her, she was great.
And then the bit where you smell gas.
You
don't know.
I remember that.
You're the one that did it all the time.
Walking by the door.
Oh, God! You're going to have to.
Because I love it. I have to tell them all the time. The classrooms were set up where there was 2 doors. In the front of the class, teacher stood between the 2 doors, and the students were looking up at them, and by consequence, the 2 doors. Well, Rodney's not the kind of guy to leave that kind of audience that's trapped looking at them when you're walking by. He won't let that go. So every time we walk by this one class with both the doors open and the teacher's giving some kind of lecture, when we pass by the first one, everybody notices the motion. And they instinctually just look up. So they know they're looking at us when we go by the second door. Every time this one started, he would come by and look at me and say, "Do you smell gas?" And they'd just fall forward. And then I or Sam, whoever he was doing it with, was obliged to grab him and pull him out of frame through the door. So the one time we didn't do it, I don't remember why. We're going somewhere, and I wasn't with him, with Sam, but he tells me this afterwards. They walk by the door, walk by the second door, and just going down the hallway, and the teacher stuck her head out the door. Aren't you going to fall down for us today?
Yes. Oh my God, I'd forgotten
We were
that.
very silly, but we had a lot of fun.
Oh, I'd forgotten that.
The other story you can talk about is we got some costumes, extra costumes.
Oh, you always want me to tell that one.
Yes, because it's a wonderful Rodney story.
Well, if I may, from honestly, from that point that he's referring to, from that point, kind of on, I always had a vehicle that had a trunk. I don't now. It's a truck, but I had a trunk.
Right.
But I have a truck. But it was a trunk, and it was a truck.
Yeah,
But
move on.
oh, okay,
We got
sorry.
the truck.
I got in a loop. I got caught in a loop. But from that point on, I always had some kind of costume stuff on there, because after that, I started working at a place where I met this guy who was like a guerrilla camera style shooting kind of guy. Just at any moment he wants to film something where there's a doctor's office or something, and it dawned on me, you know what? If I'm going to do that, I have stuff.
Yeah,
so
so
why
me too. We're the victim of the same thing. We're sitting in the living room. Troy broke out a camera.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I always had stuff at the ready like that, and it was because of that, because of this. But anyway, yeah, go on, please.
They were clearing out the costume department at our college in the Mainland Theater, which meant that they were going to donate everything that looked normal, and everything else was just going to go in the dumpster. And they told us this, and we're like, "You can't get rid of this. This stuff is great." So they let us go in there and just sift through all the crap that we wanted to keep, and we made piles of stuff that we were never going to use.
They were just cleaning
But
out.
we couldn't stand to let it go. And so we're trying to figure out ways to move all this stuff all the way out to our cars in the parking lot. And at one point, I just started putting stuff on. The easiest way to carry it. From a play called The Foreigner, there was necessary to have 4 Ku Klux Klan outfits. Robes and hoods. And they were the biggest of them, so the easiest way to carry them was to have those on last. So 3 of us wear these outfits out to Rodney's trunk. And, we're at the point, I remember we were carrying the hoods.
Yeah.
So we just look like, Gandalf knockoffs. That's okay.
Yeah.
We're throwing all this stuff in the trunk. And Rodney says, "Wait a minute, I got an idea." Which is a bad start to most things.
Well, and you'd had a class, I think it was like maybe choir or something.
Something I
but
did
you had
have
a class.
to go to, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember, but so he puts on the hood. No, and he had me put on the hood. That's the joke.
I had
Sorry,
you- I had
fucked
you-
that up.
No.
He has me actually wear the outfit. Klan guy and a black guy, and we're walking along the campus. We waited till people came within earshot, just walking past them, and said something like,
We said something to the effect of, yeah, so I don't understand why I can't be like a part of your group or anything.
I just don't think you fit in, man.
Is there like a written exam? Or
No, brother, no, there's not a written.
No, okay.
It's just a thing. Nobody said anything, but they had these wonderful stares forward, trying not to look at us. An active trying not to look.
Or there was that occasional thing that happened, and I do remember one person in particular, but there was an occasional person that had walked past us, and at periph, I had seen. And then they keep that was very good times.
Occasional cheeseburger and that look he's describing is all I lived on back then.
I still sort of do. I have, for the better part of the last 20 years, lived for the reaction. What? I live for the
I remember
response to something absurd.
I used to go to these meetings that our friend Angela had, and they were supposed to be about spirituality and religion and religious awakening. And it was all these people that were in their early 20s that were just remarkably self-centered and stupid. And I went there mostly to laugh at them. But they would ask these ridiculously simple questions. And one of them I remember is like, what gets you to get up out of bed in the morning? And a lot of them thought they were clever, like saying, I don't even remember. Really, it was just the most asinine stuff. And I guess mine was too, but I went ahead and said it. I told them, what gets me out of the bed every morning is what I call the look. The look is actually kind of difficult to describe, but I think I can spark your imagination. If you picture this, you're driving along on a road, and for breakfast you're eating some kind of sticky bun or flaky pastry. It's all full of sugar and very sticky, but it's flaking apart. When you're done with it, you realize the entire front of your shirt and lap are covered in these crumbs. And you pull up to a red light, and you're trying to brush all these crumbs off. Somebody pulls up next to you, looks over, and because of the cutoff of the door, sees nothing except you doing something very vigorous to your lap. That way they look at you, that's the look. That's the easiest way to describe that.
And then the light turns green and...
I love doing that because right after that, even the stupid 20-somethings looked at me with a combination of awe and revulsion that very greatly mimicked the look. It was the reason I went.
You know what? One thing that sparks a remembrance that I like that you told me one time. Living in Austin, I remember you telling me you like to tell people about the town that you come from because of that look. Ultimately, when you describe to them, but the plants and stuff.
Yeah.
The chemical plants and everything. The idea that there are these huge pipes that fire shoots out 30 feet in the air, and if that fire's not there, it's a bad thing. And their looks.
Yeah. Well, you get two kinds. One is just that abstract look of horror. But you had another one that was always very interesting to me, and it was this sort of this sort of edit thing where it's obvious in their brain you're making that up.
Yeah.
Nobody would willingly live in the place that you're accurately describing because you lived there.
Yeah. Surely you're joking, and then you are not joking.
Yeah. It's difficult to make people understand that you'd be amazed what you can get used to. And we got used to a lot. And even I didn't realize how weird it was until I started describing people that obviously didn't believe me.
Like, oh, you aren't familiar with this life.
Yeah, I did that in one of the storyteller sessions.
Uh-huh.
There's a friend of ours that does this thing at the Spider Lounge, where they just have people.
The Spider House.
Yeah, the Spider Lounge.
Spider
it's
House.
Associated with it. It's right next door.
Okay. Because when the peoples get together, it's Spider House rules.
What?
No, Cider House. Sorry, it's a Cider House. Sorry. And plus it's young Michael Caine, not you know.
Well, how young? We're talking the island.
Yeah. No.
Or like the Death Trap or whatever.
Yeah, that's... See, because you were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That's that Michael Caine. Nowadays, he's
Alfred.
He's Alfred. He's very proper. He's on the verge of crime.
Some man is what watches the world burn. And I'm one of them.
Surely one of them. He's always on the verge of crime. He chooses his words very carefully.
I think he would have been.
Master Bruce, I've buried enough Batmans in this family. I mean,
Batman's was the one.
There's
things you don't know about your father.
There's a
you don't know about.
There's a jubilee of Batmans in this family, Master Bruce, and I've buried all of them. Alfred, you're doing something to them. If that's the former special agent. Yeah, but anyway, sorry, I derailed that. Sorry. You just made me think about Michael Caine. But anyway, Spider Hall.
No, it was
Spider House Hall.
Spider. He was in the Justice League. Wasn't he?
He was.
That was Justice League.
That's right.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. Something about
Absolutely.
I told the story about Sex City.